Okay, so we're going to start. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Warsaw. Good morning, TP conference. I hope you slept well after yesterday's party. And I'm so happy to introduce the face and the voice of contemporary psychology, the father of time perspective theory, probably the most renowned scholar in psychology nowadays, Philip Zimbardo.
I am delighted to be here today, of course, delighted to be the final keynote speaker in what has been a remarkable 3 days. We have heard wonderful lectures, wonderful seminars, wonderful workshops, and last night we had a wonderful gala. So my talk is going to be long. I will try to talk fast, but not too fast for people for whom English is not first language. The topic of my talk is enjoying the time of your life, and I will end with some grandfatherly advice about what we should all do to enjoy our life more. But I want to begin with some theme music. I want to begin with some theme music to put us in the right mood for my presentation. Oh, we don't have... So clearly we want time to be on our side, but sadly time runs, and I'm dedicating my talk today to Richard Sword, who is with us in Coimbra, a dear friend, inspiring colleague who died this month in his home in Maui. And his wife Rosemary says he's living large in the transcendent future world. And I want to thank again Victor Tuno, Pedro Cordero, who organized as graduate students our first conference in Portugal. Sadly, they could not be here, but we keep their memory alive. And new thanks to Maciek Storlowski and his local volunteer team, whose names are here, who did this extraordinary thing. We think this is the ideal number for our conference because people had a chance to communicate, and it's also the efficiency. Everything is in this building. The lectures, the seminars, the workshops, the lunches, the coffee breaks. And so many people have had a chance to communicate in very personal ways, and we hope that'll continue today. And also, whoops, wrong thing. And also to the next organizer of our conference. We had a meeting, and Nicholas volunteered, France. And so Marseille, most likely, France for sure, and Nicholas probably to be in charge. And so this will be in 2 years. The exact time and place will be presented soon. And here's deep appreciation to our original Z team. And our team keeps expanding more and more, and now it's expanding almost infinitely. And what is amazing for me is most of the research I've done with a small number of students. I never had a big research lab. And so after retiring, this is the start of a big research lab. And each conference we have, whether it's a time perspective conference or we meet in European conferences or in international, our team keeps growing, and we hope many of you will join us. What is exciting is we have just finished, after much, much work, a 24-country study of the equivalence of Zimbardo time perspective inventory around the world, headed by Anna Surkova, and that published it. It's just published. So this is the main presenters, plus 50 members of the international team. And most wonderfully for me, this is my birthday gift, the best gift I ever had. We have just published this week, Time Perspective Theory, Review, Research, and Application. 103 authors from 27 different nations, 6 different continents, and there are 32 chapters. So this is the Bible of Time Perspective, bringing everything we know up to date. And I'm so grateful, Nicholas, Maciek, and Vessel. And sadly, Vessel cannot be here. So my talk will start with some nice old stuff. Those of you who've seen it before, hopefully you will like it. We'll drift into some very recent stuff and end with exciting visions of the future. And truly, finally, Flip, why this day is special in Warsaw, it's special in Poland. It's really Hero Day. It's August 1st, so we'll talk about that. And for me, I will introduce my other self in my life as a hipster. You'll see what that means.
Stop the clock, please. 30 seconds, studio. Keep it quiet, please. Settle down.
It's about time. End sequence. Take 1.
15 seconds, studio. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
So the time paradox is, what I'm going to say today is the most important decisions that you make, all your decisions, little ones and big ones, things that affect your life, is organized by something inside of you that most people are totally unaware of. Namely, we carry around with us the psychology of time perspective in our mind. And we're unaware of it because we've been doing it since we're children and because it's overdetermined. So many things influence our time perspective, as we will see today. So time perspective is really, from my point of view, now there's a lot of different definitions. Again, we will be in the process of resolving them. It's a study of how individuals divide the flow of their personal experience into different time zones, different categories. We do so automatically, we do so unconsciously. These time frames vary between different cultures, nations, social classes, and people. The problem is they become biased, meaning we overuse some and we underuse others. When hopefully, as you'll see today, the most important thing is to learn how to balance them. I think it's no longer an exaggeration to say time perspective is a foundation essential for almost all other psychological constructs. Achievement needs, causal thinking, guilt, revenge, impulsivity, improvisation. And we'll see today, and you've heard in many lectures, the concept relates to almost everything we can think about: financial planning, issues of health, issues of delinquency, drug addiction, and much more. So the conceptual model is, I have to make a decision, and my decision is going to influence that. And these could be little things like the people from Tactile CBT said, so you're overweight. You know you shouldn't eat anything more, and somebody puts before you a big ice cream sundae, a banana split. So the decision is, should you just push it away, should you take a little bit, or should you eat it all? And the question is, what influences those decisions? So last night, I should have gone from our gala to the hotel to prepare this lecture, and on the way, I stopped because people were dancing. And so the question is, for every student, should I stay and play, or should I work? And what influences that decision is, in the immediate situation, the music, people having fun, how you feel, and the question is, should you stop? And if you do that, we think of you as a present-oriented person. On the other hand, I think about in the past when I did that, I got really tired, I went home, I fell asleep, I got up, I didn't prepare my lecture well, and it was a disaster. So I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to stop and dance. Those people would be past-oriented. The other group of people say, my decision is cost-gain. If I stay and dance, I'll have fun, but I won't prepare my lecture, I'll lose respect for people, I'll lose my fame, it will be disaster. So I'm not going to dance. And those people we call future-oriented. Now, When you talk like this, it's like a type. But as we know, this is a continuum because people have a degree of each. And so those of you who were there knew that I gave up my past orientation, I gave up my usual future orientation, and I stayed and danced and had a wonderful time. But then I had to stay till almost 3 o'clock this morning preparing this lecture. So the Time Paradox recently published the Polish edition by my publisher, PBN. And so again, some of this you know, so I'm going to go very quickly. So there's 6 time perspectives, 2 present, 2 past, 2 futures. It's where you focus on positives or negative of each of these. The problem is everything influences time perspective. Where you live, your geography, climate, if you live above or below the equator, your cultural background, your religion. We'll see in a moment, Protestants are more future-oriented than Catholics or Muslims. And it affects gross national product. So even though it's starting out, we treated this as an individual variable, variations between individuals, and we're going to see later on that it's more powerful than all personality tests we know. It really can also operate at a national level. Social class, you get to be middle class only by becoming future-oriented. Your educational level, the more educated you are, the more future-oriented you become. If you grow up in an economy which is economically or politically unstable, you cannot trust the future. So it reduces the likelihood that people will be future-oriented, and you become more past or present-oriented. This book, Religion and the Rise of Capitalism, was a seminal work in making people aware that one of the powerful things that Calvinism, Protestantism did, is it said, we are all destined to go to heaven or hell. And the way you know if you're going to go to heaven is if you are successful on earth. Yeah, so how am I going to be successful? I'm going to make a lot of money. I'm going to get a lot of respect. So it promoted Protestants to be hardworking. And we call it the Protestant ethic. And in every country around the world, where Protestants dominate in numbers, the gross national product is higher than in Catholics. This is almost true north versus south, even within each country. So time is money. This lovely cartoon, Einstein discovers that time really is money. And interestingly, yesterday, we confirmed it. Knowing your time perspective will save you more money and make you richer than if you're financially smart. So the hot new research was presented yesterday by Nick and Brian says that your financial success is linked to your awareness of your time perspective. And your time perspective bias can lead you to make really bad decisions or can, if you use it wisely, really good decisions. And this was a 6-nation survey with 3,000 people we did, headed by Nick and Brian and me, and then six members of our cross-cultural team. The data is all analyzed. We're writing it up for publication, both as an academic article, but also as a popular article. And it's got a lot of press. Much of the media is interested. New York Times, Wall Street Journal, and much more. So again, as you know, the original scale was 56 items. We have the universal scale is now 36 items. That means if you use this ZTPI, you should use this universal scale because we know those 36 items work in almost every nation. There's also now a new short form, and we'll talk about other scales. So again, most of you know this. For those of you who don't, I'm going to present from our original data the relationship between each scale and many, many other psychological measures. In personality, when something is significant, the correlation is almost 0.2 or 0.3, never more. And what is amazing, as you'll see, the correlations we are getting, that not only we got originally, but all of you are getting in your research, are robust, 30, 40, 50 or more. So that means we are tapping into something that explains much of the variance in human behavior. So what we did is we gave our scale to 200 college students, older college students, and then we gave them a dozen other scales. So as you can see here, if you're high on future, it's not working. Okay. If you're high on future, the correlation with conscientiousness is 70. That's unheard of. There are no correlations in psychology higher than 70, none. Even if we measure your IQ before and after. Preference for consistency is 60. Ego control, 50. Energy, 40. Impulse control. Negative. They don't seek sensation, they're not aggressive, and they're not depressed. As we're going to see later, the opposite with some of the other scales. So why is conscientiousness? So this means I'm able to resist temptations when I know there's work to be done. The most amazing recent finding relating psychology to biology to mortality is if you are conscientious, you live 2 years longer than people who are not. This is a study from 20 meta-analysis, 20 independent studies with more than 9,000 people in 6 nations. If you are conscientious, you live longer. Now, why is that? It's not a magical thing. We know from other research that people who are future-oriented and conscientious do practice positive health behaviors. They eat well, they exercise, they don't take risks, they wear seatbelts in cars, they don't drink alcohol when they drive. So essentially, if you're conscientious, you follow rules for healthy living, and the consequence is you live longer. Past positive is this lovely, huggable category. They're happy. They have self-esteem. They're friendly people. They have a little bit of energy. They're not anxious. They're not depressed. They're not aggressive. So being past positive is almost always good. The only thing it means you're stuck in a positive past. So what's wrong? You don't like anything new. New friends, new family, new risks, new challenges. So you prefer the familiar to the novel. And that's usually good, but it's not good for advancing a society. Because what is it you don't want? You don't want new technology. You don't want new ways of thinking. Present hedonistic is my favorite. Everything correlates with it because it's the most complicated, and we really need to study it more. The correlation with seeking novelty and seeking physical, psychological sensation is 0.70. A lot of energy, a little bit of aggression, but this is the most creative people. Creativity is the only correlated with present hedonism. The problem now is ego under control, minus 0.75. They don't care about consistency. They have no impulse control. They're not conscientious and no emotional stability. So this is volatile. This is like, this thing is bubbling and bubbling and bubbling. The problem with present hedonism, at moderate levels, it means you seek pleasure. You enjoy life, family, friends. When I talk about how we're all going to live a better life, it's to be a little more present hedonistic. The problem is there's a tipping point when those pleasures become addictions, when you want more gambling, more food, more sex, more everything. And we'll see, and also more video game playing, more pornography watching. And at that point, it's an addiction, meaning I would rather be doing that than anything else. So the whole world becomes organized around your addiction, and that is a recipe for disaster. Present hedonists, again, most of my original orientation was organized really around cognitive decision-making strategies. So I do things impulsively, making decisions on the spur of the moment, never thinking about the future. So this is sex, drugs, rock and roll. And here we get to the negative. There are people who say, it doesn't pay to plan. Nothing ever works out. My life is fated. Fated by Allah, but fated by my poverty, fated by the economic problems, my community. If you live in an immigrant village, but high on aggression, high on anxiety, high on depression. That's a terrible triad. Jeff Jorman talked about his wonderful research on CFS, concern for future consequences. Minus 70. They say we don't give a shit about future consequences because nothing ever works out. Our plans never evolve into meaningful goals or action. Ego control negative, self-esteem negative, conscientiousness negative, energy negative, emotional stability negative, how happy negative. So this is a very, very sad group. Equally sad is if you are past negative, which simply means when I think of the past, I think of regret. I think of failure. I think of abuse. I think of all the things I could have done but didn't do. Trait anxiety, 0.75. maximum correlation in psychology. But also they're depressed and high on aggression. So this is a negative volatile. Present hedonistic is a positive volatile thing. And this is negative. This is destructive. This is where school shooters come from. They don't have a sense of self-esteem. Minus 60. No emotional stability, no control over impulses. They're not happy, and very little energy. So if you're high on past negative, if you're high on present fatalism, and you're functioning, these are college students. I mean, it's different if you live in poverty, if you live in a war zone, but these are functioning college students. And so what I'm saying is we should be giving our scale widely to students in clinics and so forth. And any student, any person who's high on both of those should be getting remedial counseling because they are in a serious danger zone. Not therapy, but simply making them aware of that they carry these time bombs in them, and so when something bad happens, they are prepared to explode. The one time perspective that we have not studied is what I call the Zen holistic expanded present. So people who meditate, people who focus on the here and now. So in the Sanskrit it says, yesterday is already a dream, tomorrow but a vision, but today, well-lived, makes every yesterday a dream of happiness and every tomorrow a vision of hope. So that's a wonderful theme that we want to embrace. And Buddha tells us, do not dwell on the past, do not dream of the future, concentrate the mind on the present moment. It's very hard to do if you're future-oriented, and I presume most of us are here on time because we're future-oriented. So how do we learn to get into the flow of a chosen present hedonism, to balance the excess of future orientation? What's interesting, I just discovered yesterday that there are now 3 new present scales. One from Netherlands, one from Poland. One is eudaimonic and one is carpe diem. And I'm going to tell you about a third scale that I was part of developing with my daughter and a former student. We call it XTP, expanded time present. So now we have present hedonism, which is about seeking pleasure, present fatalism, which is about avoiding decision, and this is a new one about mindfulness, about living in the moment, without pleasure, without negativity. So life is temptation. It's about yielding, it's about resisting, it's yes, no, it's being impulsive, being reflective, and life is all about really present versus future. This is the contrast that we live with. And psychologists have only begun to focus on the whole concept of temptation. What is temptation? Every Christian in Lord's Prayer says what? Lead us not into temptation, deliver us from evil. So temptation is sin all around us. And so what is it? Is it willpower? Is it freedom of choice? My colleague at Stanford some years ago, Walter Mischel, developed this wonderful paradigm in which he tempts little children. They play a game and he says, you won a marshmallow, and here it is, but if you wait till I come back, you can have 2. So if you like marshmallows or chocolate, it pays to wait a few minutes to get 2. Some children wait, some children don't. It's a developmental measure. So before the age of 4, no children wait. As you get older, 50%, 60%, but there's still, even in adults, there's still a small percentage who can't wait. With adults, instead of doing marshmallows, you do hot buttered popcorn. So even if you look away, the smell comes, and then very few people can resist. So I recently redid, for demonstration purpose, Michel's study with little children, 4 and 5 years old. So I play a game, they win the game, and they give them marshmallow, and then we see, what do they do when I leave the room when they have the marshmallow there that they could eat or not?
Come in and have a seat here. Okay. Sit right up. Okay. Now, I'm going to play a game with you, and I would like you to point to which one is the correct answer. Which one is happy most of the time, the shy one or the not shy one? Not shy one, correct. Which one has a brown nose? The shy puppet or the not shy puppet?
The not shy puppet.
Point him. Thank you. Stop that. Which one is happy most of the time? The shy one or the not shy one?
Probably that.
Thank you. That's wonderful. I want to give you a prize for having done so well. Do you like marshmallows? You do? Well, here's a marshmallow for you. You can eat it now, but if you wait until I come back, you can have 2 of them. So you can eat this now, but I'm going to go outside for a minute. When I come back, you can have 2 marshmallows if you wait.
Okay, I'll wait.
Do you think you could wait? Okay, we'll see. I'll be back in a minute. See?
So when I leave, there's not a one-way screen, so I have no idea what they're doing until we look at the video. Dancing. He's going to play piano. So these are all distraction activities.
Hello. You waited. You waited for me. Okay, so now you know what's going to happen. You're going to get a double treat. I'm going to give you 2 of these lovely marshmallows. You want to eat them now or save them for later? Okay, well, go ahead.
Now.
A little sticky.
I've had marshmallows before.
So I say it's a little sticky. She says, I've had marshmallows before. The only difference, this is a special treat by a stranger.
I'm going to give you a prize. I'm going to give you a treat.
These are children who
The
didn't
treat
wait.
is a
Also,
delicious
equally
marshmallow.
beautiful little girl.
But if you wait,
Before you-
I have to go check my car. When I come back, if you wait, you can have 2 of them. You can have 1 now, or when I come back, you can have 2. Okay? Okay. Hello, my dear. You ate the marshmallow. Was it delicious?
Yes.
Do you like marshmallows?
Now this kid is
You don't like
amazing.
marshmallows?
First of all,
You like
imagine his
chocolate?
mother dressed him in that shirt.
Well, treat you have
So
done.
she's warning the
Yes.
world, this kid is dangerous.
Chocolate. But, if you wait
So
till
he
I
said,
come
I don't like
back,
marshmallows, but I
you
was
can
ready.
get
Here's
2.
chocolate.
You could eat this now. I have to go check my car. And when I come back, if you wait, I'll give you 2 of them.
Twice.
So you can eat it now, but if you wait till I come back,
3
you have
times.
2. Okay? You think you could wait? Okay. So I will be back in a few minutes. So you can
I'd
either
say it
eat
4 times now.
But if you wait, you're going to have 2 of them. Okay. I'll be back soon.
I wasn't out of the room. But now you have to imagine, what will he say when I come back? Will he be embarrassed? He's enjoying total present hedonism, enjoying life. Life without a future.
Hello, I'm back. How are you?
Good. I waited.
No, you ate it. You ate the chocolate.
He said, I waited. I didn't leave the room. Give me 2. So now he's structuring his world in a special way that will get him into serious trouble. So this acute demonstration by Walter Mischel, interestingly, his team has been following these children up. First they followed them up 10 years later when they were finishing high school, going to college, and now they're following them up when they're 40 and 50 years old. They're doing not only psychological measures, but even biological measures to show that that decision at 4 influences everything in their life. So in fact, by the time these children are 30, 40, the children who could not resist typically had bad marriages, were unsuccessful in work. The children who resisted had more positive life. But let's look at the first research. What happens 10 years later? The children go from preschool, graduating high school, going to college.
You may already be familiar with the famous marshmallow study conducted by my colleague, psychologist Walter Mischel, in which a group of 4-year-olds were given one marshmallow and told they were allowed to eat it immediately. They were told that if they could wait to eat the marshmallow after being left alone with it for a while, then they would be given an extra marshmallow to eat. Most eat the marshmallow as soon as they are left alone with it, but some other children are able to resist temptation. Those children who ate the marshmallow right away are considered to be oriented toward the present, while those who resisted temptation have an orientation toward the future. When the children were interviewed years later as 18-year-olds, there were amazing differences between the children who were able to delay gratification and those children who couldn't resist the immediate temptation. Scored 250 points higher on the SAT, overreacts to frustration, works well under pressure, indecisive, self-reliant and confident, prone to jealousy and envy. The marshmallow experiment is a classic study of how a person's ability to delay gratification, even at the age of 4, can predict many significant future outcomes. But what does this have to do with you? A lot. In my new book, The Time Paradox, you will learn how your own relationship to time plays a significant role in your personal happiness. Whether you're looking for a better understanding of the world at large, from religion to politics to business to national destinies, or want a deeper understanding of yourself, The Time Paradox teaches you how to recognize your own attitudes toward time and how your everyday decisions are influenced by your personal time orientation. And it will help you overcome the hidden mental biases that keep you too attached to the past, unhealthily obsessed with future goals, or too focused on immediate gratification.
So let's review what we've said so far. And in this dazzling review, which was done by 3 artists in London, I gave a lecture like this, and they abstracted 10 minutes of the audio, and then they had artists paint, draw the lecture, and some of it is more creative than I could imagine. Then at the end, there's some new ideas. This was 2 years ago that I'm following up. So this is review and looking to the future. Royal Society of Arts Animation in London.
So what we have discovered in 30 years of research, there's 6 main time zones that people live in. 2 focus on the past, 2 on the present, and 2 on the future. The people who focus on the past either remember all the good old times, successes, happy birthdays, nostalgia. These are the people who keep the family record, the family books, who have the family rituals. There are other people who focus only on regret, only on failure, only on all the things that went wrong. So we call those focus past positive or past negative. There are 2 ways to be present-oriented. The most obvious is to be hedonistic, that you live for pleasure and you avoid pain. You seek novelty, you seek sensation. There are other people who are present-oriented because they say, it doesn't pay to plan. My life is fated. Fated by my religion, fated by my poverty, fated by the conditions that I'm living under. Most of us are here because we are future-oriented, that we have learned to work rather than play, to resist temptation. But there's another way to be future-oriented. Depending on your religion, life begins after the death of the mortal body. To be future-oriented, you have to trust that when you make a decision about the future, it's going to carry out. If you have great inflation, you don't put money in a bank because you can't trust the future. If there's instability in your family, adults can't keep their promises to you. The closer you are to the equator, the more present-oriented you are. The more you're in an environment where climate doesn't change, it gives you a set of imagining sameness rather than change. Protestants everywhere have higher gross national product than Catholic countries, in part because of the Protestant ethic, because of the notion that you work hard to succeed, to demonstrate that you are God's chosen people. My family comes from Sicily, And in Italy, there is a political movement called La Liga to cut Italy in half, to have North Italy and South Italy, cut it just below Tuscany. The people in the North say, we do all the work. The people in the South are lazy. They're like children. They want to have babies, have 3-hour dinners, etc. People in the South say, they're not Italian, they're German and Austrian. You know, they eat yogurt instead of pasta. they take their lunch in a paper bag. And in the recent election, the Liga got 14% of the national vote. It turns out it is accurate. We've done research to say people in the North tend to be, on a scale much more future-oriented. People in the South tend to be more past-oriented or present hedonistic. And so my family is Sicilian, and I come from Sicily. I go back every year. I started an educational foundation. We send high school kids to college and set up computer labs. And I'm talking about some of this stuff, and a man comes up and says, I'm a poet. I live with words. It wasn't until I heard you talk that I realized there's no future tense verb in Sicilian dialect. I said, what do you mean? There was, is, there's no will be. He said, that's why nothing gets done.
But it's
And I
also
didn't
similar
realize
to what
it
Jim
because we
Jones
never
said about
planned.
African. No future.
So again,
verb.
here's how when you have a number of people who share a certain time perspective, then it does come to characterize a nation. In the same way, if you have a Catholic nation where people tend to be present or past-oriented, rather than a Protestant nation where in general people tend to be more future-oriented, it affects you in very profound ways. So there's a wonderful book called The Geography of Time, and it's written by a dear friend of mine, Robert Levine, who's a social psychologist, and he actually literally went around the world doing wonderful experiments. He looks at what he calls the pace of life. See, time perspective is how people divide their own experience into partitions, time zone. Another kind of time orientation is your sense of duration. How much time has expired while you're sitting in a dentist's office before they start drilling? How much time has expired when you've been waiting in line? How much time has expired when you're having fun or upset? So time duration is totally a function of whether you're bored, whether you're excited or not. And what he does is he shows that in different cultures, people have a different pace of life. And you do this very simply. You sit in a cafe and you mark off 100 meters, and as people pass, you start a stopwatch. And you see how fast people walk. You go to a post office, and on a piece of paper you say, I'd like, 3 pounds of this postage or 10 euros. And you see how long it takes. So he has a bunch of these measures. And it turns out you can identify cultures as different pace of life, and now cities. And he shows in America, you can rank 60 cities according high pace of life and low pace of life. And the ones that have the highest pace of life, men have the most coronary problems. That is, this becomes part of your whole way of life. We all begin life as present hedonists. All of us. I mean, at the breast, at the bottle, we want pleasure, we want to avoid pain. And one of the things that families do, and especially school, my sense is the purpose of schooling is to take present-oriented little beasts and make them more future-oriented, and some cultures make them more past-oriented. In America, a child drops out of school every 9 seconds. This is worse for kids from a minority background, and it's worse for boys than girls. There's actually a disaster recipe developing among boys in America, literally dropping out of high school, college, and it's not simply poor performance. One of the problems is, a recent study shows that by the time a boy is 21, he has spent at least 10,000 hours playing video games alone. Probably more watching pornography alone. And you put that together, it means, A, they haven't learned social skills, emotional, social intelligence, but also it means that they live in a world that they create. They're playing Warcraft, they're playing these other games, which is exciting. In fact, I just heard the other day that these game companies are now going to develop 3D games so that the world will be all around you. Their brains are being digitally rewired, which means they will never fit in a traditional classroom, which is analog. Somebody talks at you without even the nice pictures, meaning it's boring. I mean, you control nothing. You sit there passively. And if you want to change the curriculum, I understand the traditionalists here say we got to go back to reading, writing, arithmetic. Disaster. These kids will never fit into that. They have to be in a situation where they are controlling something, and school is set up, you control nothing. You're passive. School is all about learning, delay of gratification, literally endlessly. All addictions are addictions of present hedonism. food, sex, drugs, gambling, etc. All of our propaganda, all of our educational message, all our public relations messages are designed for future-oriented kids, who's not the problem. They tell you, here's the negative consequences of doing what you're doing. Future-oriented kids know that, and they don't do it. Present-oriented kids know the future consequences. If you're a teenage girl, you know that if you have unprotected sex, you're likely to get pregnant or have sexually transmitted disease. You know it, but that knowledge never feeds back to change your behavior. So that's the interesting thing about time perspective. I think we are underestimating the power of technology in rewiring young people's brains. Kids don't wear wristwatches. They say it's a single-function device. You don't waste time with a single-function device. And they live in a digital thing. What matters is the second. You know, I didn't mention, one of the things that gets people upset in America is how long it takes to boot up your computer and how long it takes to download something. Less than a minute. That makes people angry. So it becomes an emotional thing. You get angry waiting in line, waiting for services. Waiting is a waste of time, even if it's waiting for your computer to boot up. So I think there's a fundamental change going on in our culture that I think we adults are not realizing, that kids are totally different than we were. And it's because it's revolution in time. There was a recent study we did with USA Today, asking Americans how busy they are. The vast majority of Americans, more than 50%, said, I'm busier now than I was last year, I'm busier last year than the previous year, and I sacrifice friends, family, and sleep for my success. This is across the board, not separating by future orientation. And then we say, suppose you had an 8-day a week, what would you do? They say, oh, that would be great. They would spend most of that time working harder, achieving more, not with friends, not with family, and not even sleeping. They did this study 20 years ago, and I was upset, again, from this Italian background. Only 60% of Americans said they have regular sit-down family dinners. When we redid the study last year, only 1 in 5 American families have sit-down dinners together. In America, we talk about family values. You can't have a family value if you never have family meals together. I think many of life's puzzles can be solved by simply understanding our own time perspective and that of others. Lots of conflict we have with people is really a conflict in different time perspectives. Once you're aware of that, you stop making negative attributions like you're dumb or you're childish or you're pig-headed or you're authoritarian. It's really the most simple idea in the world.
This is available on YouTube, Zimbardo, Secret Powers of Time, if you want to use it and teach it. So let's very quickly run through some selected time perspective research with different behavioral outcomes. So a lot of this, it was new to me. Nicholas and Maciek summarized for me for the talk. So time perspective and mindfulness, there is a negative relationship to the being present fatalist and present hedonist. Past positive is positively related to being mindful. Past negative is negatively related. This supports the introduction of a present holistic scale. I didn't know about chronoscopes. There was a wonderful poster just presented. Larks are more future-oriented. Larks wake up in the morning. Owls are more present hedonistic in their time perspective. This relationship is mediated by self-control. Different emotional loadings on ZPI subscales where past negative is the highest, is a predictor of actual mood and is responsible for biased emotional recall anticipation. So that's why we need the future negative scale, which is essential, is been developed. Again, a whole other area, emotional intelligence, is related to having a balanced time perspective. And now again, much research presented here says we really should be focusing on balanced time perspective in our research, in our teaching and training, helping people to develop that balanced time perspective. And it's related to being past positive and future oriented. The ZTPI was validated, as I said, in 36 item form across 24 countries to get the universal time perspective. Here's some indicators: uncertainty avoidance, long-term orientation, indulgence versus restraint. Human Development Index is a measure of people's long and healthy life. It combines level of education and income. And one of the things that's really dramatic is on this measure, and these are national measures, not individual, a past negative is minus 45. It's incredible. And also the past negative is uncertainty avoidance is minus, long-term orientation is minus, and here's where future comes in. They don't avoid uncertainty, and indulgence versus restraint, future-oriented is don't ever involve themselves in indulgence. Is this Nicholas's creation? So what Nicholas did is took all the research we have from all these different countries and made this incredible global graph. And essentially what you see is these are the scores. On blue is balanced time perspective, and red is negative. Amazingly, Estonia is the highest, and then Israel, and then Poland's good, Russia, Italy, pretty good, UK, Germany, Turkey, getting worse and worse, Lithuania, we have some Lithuanians here, Serbia, not as good, Spain, less, surprisingly Sweden, Czech Republic, Colombia, Greece, France, and US is buried in there, very low, New Zealand, Mexico, Brazil, Algeria, and China is low. On the other hand, if you look at the negative, China is very high, and US is exceptionally high. So here's this amazing contrast. I would never think that in the US we have the least balance and among the highest past negative. Now, then it's more if you look at blue is the future, red is the balance, and this, I guess, I don't know what color that is, green is negative. Again, we see the different, so here's what you saw before, and then the blue is future-oriented. And again, here's the paradox for me. For America is the highest in future, very low in balance, and also high in negative. So again, as we go from the individual level of analysis to the group level to the national level, we learn very interesting things. We are learning. Our team here is learning. So a study of meta-analysis, 19 studies with 6,000 people from 7 countries shows that there's a very profound relationship between time perspective and between future orientation and pro-environmental attitudes. This is research done by Tassiano Milford. There's a huge amount of research on future time perspective related to women getting mammography, cervical cancer screening, medical adherence, actually following the doctor's advice, quality of life and illness, whereas past negative is deleterious and present hedonistic. Time perspective is a mediator between distress and alcohol consumption. So if you're past negative and you're distressed, the way you handle that is with self-medication, you become alcoholic. The role of time perspective in health behavior is confirmed not only in prospective studies, but longitudinal. And we heard the research by Jeff Jorman, where consideration of future consequences influences a whole range of health behaviors. Time perspective and cannabis use, marijuana, is universal. A time perspective has influence on problematic internet use. Again, the children that I'm studying, the teenage boys, that is, if you're present hedonistic, you're more likely to do it, and the more you do it, the more it feeds back and makes you more present hedonistic. We just finished a study in Hungary with Gabor Orosz, looking at cheating in high school students. Present hedonistic children do most cheating, and future-oriented students do the least. Interventions. Future time perspective intervention with 2-year follow-up shows that if you're future-oriented, you self-regulate your learning. You don't need people to tell you what to do. You don't need external motivation. Individuals score higher when they are invited to give a positive image of themselves. So again, this is something teachers should do. Is, write down what are your best qualities, what are your best values, what would you like to be remembered for? We have developing a nomological scale of each behavior, and this is just the beginning, for every country. So what are all the countries that show the same effect? Pro-environmental attitudes, concern for health, condom use, conscientiousness, hours spent studying a week, positive, risky behavior, substance use, number of sexual partners, procrastination, smoking. So soon, I don't know how soon we will have this for every nation of our 24 nations. So some quickly old studies which are cute. We wanted to see Stanford students are very bright, among the most highly selected in America. And I'm going to ask them to solve some problems. Half of the students are more present-oriented, half are more future. We have men and women. And essentially we say, we want you to solve this maze and this maze. And we say, begin. So what you have to do is, you begin here, and you go here, and you go here, and it goes nowhere. And what happens if you're present-oriented, say begin, they go. If you're future-oriented, you don't begin, you look. You begin, you look at the goal, you look at the beginning, and you figure out before you begin. And when you use that strategy, 90% of the time, for future-oriented only, you solve the maze. And if you're present-oriented, even if you're smart, it's irrelevant. 30% fewer solve. So when I ask my friends in cognitive psychology, how do you explain that difference? They say, I don't mention present. They don't have cognitive skill. And no, these are your students, Stanford students, who get really high grades, who smokes, takes drugs, drinks alcohol. We did a huge study in America giving scales of alcohol use and risky driving motorcycles, bikes, cars. And it was the first study that separated males and females. And we did Stanford University and Cornell, which is a major university in the East Coast. If you're present-oriented, the correlation with alcohol use is plus 50. If you're future-oriented, it's the opposite, it's minus. Risky driving, same. If you're present-oriented, you take more risk driving. If you're future-oriented, less. And it's the same exact in two different universities. And now the interesting thing, we add females, identical. So it's the first study that says if you're a present-oriented female, you're exactly like a present-oriented male. You drink to excess. You take risk driving, and it doesn't matter if you live on the East Coast or West Coast of America. I'm sure we could replicate that in virtually every country. There's a lot of research now on addiction. I didn't do this research, but colleagues did. And it turns out we give that scale to addicts versus controls who are in the same hospital. And what you see is there's a significant effect. Heroin addicts are more hedonistic, more fatalistic, less future-oriented. So here's a profile. Now again, you need this both in terms of prevention strategies and also in terms of treatment, that medical people have to be aware of these links. Task effectiveness and measuring pupil dilation results show that future-oriented people invest more time in cognitive resources within a task. Individuals, this is for me the most amazing finding, time perspective remains accessible in cases of amnesia. When you lose your memory and the loss of ability to imagine the future. This suggests that ZTPI measures a semantic knowledge of one's place in time. So people who become amnesic, their time perspective is buried even deeper in their mind. So these are some new scales. A shorter form, we need a short form. And we need a form for children, certainly for juveniles. It's developed by Zhang. A future negative subscales proposed and developed by Carelli. People have said we need a transcendental future as well as a future negative scale. Jim Jones proposed, we're going to get him to do it, a communal time perspective scale, a scale about me and my group rather than just me. Holistic expanded presence scale. As I said, this is a Dutch version, a Polish version. This is one that was created by my daughter Zara with a former student, Rose McDermott. What's interesting about the scale, I'll show you the items very quickly, is Zara is a cultural anthropologist, Rose is a political scientist, but they are both trained massage therapists. So the whole orientation is getting the patient, creating an emotional bond, not just physical, between massage therapist and the client. And so the items very quickly are like, I really enjoy spending time appreciating the beauty of nature. Paying attention to sensations in my body keeps me present in the moment. I think it is important to take time to stop and smell the roses. I think it is valuable to pay attention not just to what people are saying, but also how they are saying it, facial expression. I often experience an expansive sense of wonder at the vastness of the world. The opportunity to spend deep quality time with those I'm close to is one of the greatest gifts life can offer. I have regular practices help me slow down, focus attention, pay deep attention, meditate, etc. When I'm engaged in creative activities, I enter a sense of flow, where I easily lose track of time. I'm sensitive to how my words and actions affect other people's feelings and how they affect me. Being generous with my time toward others makes me feel good. This is Zara, and this is her younger sister, Tanya, my daughters. So future directions. We want to look at the stability of time perspective across time in longitudinal studies and across different situations. We want to look at shifts in individual and nation's time perspective, looking for breaks in curves and testing curvilinear models. We want to look at early influences. We haven't done. Time perspective in newborn environments, parenting styles, and education. Should we try to change time perspective in different environments, or should we design situations to fit existing time perspectives? We need both more micro and more macro analysis, meaning we should begin to develop physiological-based measures of time perspective, and again, neurobiological analysis. Time perspective, right now, things are terrible around the world. There's conflicts throughout the Middle East and other places. Terrorism continues. And so does time perspective understanding play a role in this? Can we be giving advice, political, national advice, to the leaders of these countries? We want to promote environmental sustainability and conservation at national levels via time perspective education. Maciek has done recent research which says people high on a balanced time perspective dominates all known personality measures. So that personality is subsumed under time perspective for people who have a balanced time perspective. What are the limits? In Poland, new research says that social exclusion of children is endemic. It's not in a little place, it's across the board, across social classes. Can you develop a new intervention that promotes inclusion? And if so, is it based on a change in time perspective? This is the work of Agnieszka Wilczynska and me. Hero training in Poland, Budapest, Sicily. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. When somebody begins to think of themselves as an everyday hero, meaning somebody who cares for others, who's willing to take action to help others, does their time perspective change as we change that orientation? We don't know it. Okay, nearing the end, good. So I said earlier that I think time perspective is the foundation for understanding emotions, motives, and actions. Let me go back one. So the good thing about being past-oriented is these are people who are happy, good self-esteem, they believe in rituals. In every nation, these are the patriots. They love nostalgia. These are the people who have gratitude. These are the people who say thank you for what you did. They have a stability of identity because now is always linked to the past. You're linked to your family, you're linked to your lineage, you're linked to where you came from. It's amazing. In America, America is a melting pot, and they often ask children, you have a foreign name, where does your family come from? They say, I don't know. They have a Polish name, Italian name, Spanish. They say, I don't know. And parenthesis, and I don't really care. But you should care about your links. The good thing about being past positive is this is where wisdom resides. This is what you call the wisdom of the ages. And again, as I said, they have a good sense of self-identity. What's great about present hedonism is they join everything. They're in every God. They're full of joy, pleasure in life. They're very sensual. They're very sexual. They have energy, activity. They're exciting. And what we discover is these are the people best at improvisation. So every organization wants one of them. Okay? Every party wants two of them. Because these are the people who are going to put life into your organization and into parties. What's great about being future-oriented for us is that we have high achievement needs. We have a health focus. All of our planning is contingency. Everything, we do something that past and present-oriented people don't do. We think in contingencies. What does that mean? Everything is if-then. If I do A, then B. If I do A, then C. It's a unique way of thinking, which is critical in schools. One of the reasons I think children fail if you're present or past-oriented is they have never developed this way of thinking. It doesn't mean they can't. It doesn't mean they don't have the mental ability. They just have never used it. Same thing with probability. Everything in the future is probable. What are you going to do tomorrow? Could be. Everything in the present is yes or no. So again, when you're present-oriented, you begin to think in fundamentally different ways. But you have a sense of self-efficacy. You set a goal, you achieve it, you feel good about yourself. Everything is a cost-benefit analysis. And your life is filled with expectancies, and the positive part of future orientation, life is filled with hope. I'm doing a major project in Budapest, trying to change the mindset of Hungarian people. Hungarian people, like many people in Eastern Europe, but worse, are cynical, skeptical, pessimistic, doubters, and they believe heroism is bad. So I want them to be optimistic, positive, future-oriented, and heroic. And if we have time, I'll tell you how we're doing that. But mostly, I want them to have a sense of hope. Hope means we can, however bad it is in the present, the future can be better. People who survived concentration camps, Jews I know, had a sense of hope. No matter how bad it was, they say tomorrow could be better. If it's not, well, the next day could be better. And finally, if they survived, it was. They made it, they survived. But for each of those is a negative. What's bad about being a negative past? This is where all trauma resides. I'll talk very quickly in a minute about the research on post-traumatic stress disorder. If you're past-oriented, this is where all your guilt is. This is where depression resides. But on a national level, this is where you want to retaliate. This is where you revenge. So in 1727, the Armenians did to the Turks. Now the Turks are going to get... And so in a culture, you keep that sense of revenge forever. What's bad about being, as we said, present-oriented, leads to all addictions. They take excessive risks. They are ready to transform feelings into negative action. And they believe in gambler's luck. What that means is they will always lose money. They believe, next time I will win. For me, sadly, this was my father. My father was an excessive, present, hedonistic person who always, we had no money, and whatever we had, he would gamble. And he keeps saying, next time I will win. I said, Dad, here's a record. You said this, you lost. You said this, you lost. And then he said, my ship will soon come in. I said, Dad, we live in the Bronx. There's no harbor. There's no place for your ship to dock. So go to work. I never convinced him to go to work, unfortunately. But the good thing was it made me be more future-oriented. What's bad about being future-oriented is what's being picked up in scales in Germany and Sweden. We're anxious about the future. We don't control the future. We worry about it. The more we are hard-working workaholics, we isolate ourselves from other people. We tend to be too competitive. And for men, I think it leads to male impotence, because even intimacy, romance, sexuality becomes another performance that you want to get a star. You want the woman to put a stamp on your head, yeah, I was really good, rather than, So I want to quickly shift to the application of time perspective in clinical psychology. We had some wonderful sessions yesterday. And so I wrote a book with Richard Sword and Rosemary, and we have, again, another wonderful translation into Polish. And so it's a new time therapy. We focused on veterans of many wars, meaning from World War I, Korean War, Vietnam War, Iraqi War. But the veterans get most of the attention, but the biggest number of people with PTSD around the world are women who've been abused and raped, people who have been in fatal car accidents where they survived, but other people in their car, died. It's of great importance in Poland. Poland has the highest automobile fatality rate in the world, meaning even though in Poland no one drives anymore drunk, still for some reason there's a high fatality rate. And now more and more around the world, there are natural disasters where people lose everything. So these are all categories that need treatment. And the interesting thing is that almost none of the treatments work. So the profile is high pass negative, low pass positive. Present hedonism is either extreme or none. Present fatalism, of course, and they have no future time perspective. 30% of all US vets, millions, now are suffering from extreme PTSD, and there's no cure. They use cognitive behavior therapy. It keeps it from getting worse. I'm going to skip very quickly through. We focus more on advancing a brighter future than focusing on negative past to create a happy present via a balanced time perspective. So this is my friend, always, Richard Sword. And in the therapy, they respect the trauma. They say to you, you tell me about it, you suffered. You did bad things, and bad things were done to you, and we respect that. But you have a choice. You have chosen to go through life with one foot stuck in the mud of past negative, the other foot stuck in the mud of present fatalism. If you want to do that, it's fine. Go away. I can't help you. But if you want to work with me, and the therapist is really like a coach. If you want to work with me, then what you're going to do is pull the foot out of the mud of the past negative, put it on the solid soil of the future, the other foot out of present fatalism, muck, into the solid soil of past positive. And now we're going to figure out together how to add a measure of present hedonism. So we use this kind of image. Visually, we say, hey, this is you, and what we want you to do is visually change. So we have done this with 27 vets with PTSD, pre-post data, all ethnicities. These are young men, many of these are old men in the 80s, and in every single case we have major changes, really cures, in only 8 sessions. And here's all the members of all these wards. They all live in Maui, Hawaii, where the Swords have their clinic. I won't go through. We gave them all of every known measure. And the results very simply are 89% of the vets in 8 sessions or less experienced significantly less depression, 70% significantly less anxiety, and 52% fewer PTSD symptoms. So the graph is, we started here, and we did 1, 2, 3, actually we have a 4th here, and these are 26 of these 27 are, by the Veterans Administration, are 100% disabled. Okay? The other thing is, during these 3 years, there were 0 suicides. Suicide rate now among returning veterans, more veterans are killing themselves than are dying in the battle. And this is a disaster, and nobody knows why. So it's one thing to have numbers, but again, I visited them, I worked with some of their clients, and here's the kind of thing people say. Before meeting Dr. Sword, life was not worth living. I was mentally unstable and saw only negative in life and people. Self-destructive behavior was the only way I could clear my mind and forget my painful past. So it's not only taking drugs, it's racing your motorcycle. Gaining a positive future time perspective has made my life bearable and possible for me to go on. Due to my changed time perspective, I have hope for a brighter future. This process has completely changed my life. It has made it worth living. If you had one patient who could say that, that's enough to validate your being a therapist. Sadly, too many therapists I know never get this kind of extreme. Yeah, I feel a little bit better. This person said, no, you changed my life. And again, those of you who were here yesterday heard the wonderful, exciting news about tactile CBT. We have to think about a way we could integrate sword time therapy with their interesting approach. So the optimal tempo mix is the past gives you roots to connect to your identity and family, to be grounded. The future gives you wings to soar to new destination challenges. And the present gives you energy to explore people, explore new places, explore yourself, and explore your sensuality. So the ideal, we've been saying this over and over again, you want to be relatively high on past positive, moderately high on future, not excessively high because we don't want you to be a workaholic. And again, it's moderate, selected present hedonism. And almost always, let me get back, where is it? Sorry. Past negative and present fatalism is almost never good, except one place is in the research by Nick and Brian. If your past negative means you've been burned financially in the past, so you become conservative and you're less likely to make the same mistake again. So it's really one of the paradoxical findings. So at work, time is the most important thing in the world. At home, it's the most precious. So we're getting near the end. I think I have 5 minutes. I want you to take my offer you can't refuse. The Don Corleone's advice: stop working so hard as future-oriented folks. become more fun-loving, become more hedonistic, at least for now. So each of us should learn and practice a new skill, making time. Each of us should be a time factory. Make time to enable others to feel special. Every day, make a contact with somebody, learn their name, make eye contact, shake their hand, and give a compliment. Make time to be compassionate to others, and also time to be self-compassionate. Make time to enjoy friends and family more fully, not in a rush. Make time to connect to nature around you. Make time to try something new. Challenge yourself so it's not the same old you. Same old you is boring. Boring to you and to other people. Make time to keep your mind and body well tuned. Exercise, eat well. Make time for fun. Occasionally do stupid things. Play with kids. And lastly, for me, most important, make time for romance without limits. So many of life's puzzles can be solved by understanding your time perspective and the people around you. The most interesting conversations you can have is about time perspective, especially with strangers. You say, hey, here's my time perspective. I wonder if you were this or this. Have people take the scale, go online. And the most amazing thing, as soon as you say everything I said, it's obvious. When I teach this to students, they say, yeah, it's obvious. The only difference is we had the idea before you. So again, we say, think about time. Think about balanced time. Think about using time wisely and well. And now we make a quick switch. Today is August 1st, 2014. Yesterday was August 1st, 1944. It's the celebration today, and tonight in the Old Town there will be a celebration. It was the Warsaw Uprising against Nazi brutality. It's celebrated nationally. Sadly, it did not succeed. It went on for 64 days. It did not succeed in part because of political atmosphere. Stalin, Churchill, and Roosevelt really did not want Poland to take the credit for the overthrow of Nazis. So they did not give the help that Poland assumed would come. Okay? And so in the end, after 64 days, it ended. But for me, it's part of the heroic resistance of Poles against all aggressors, Nazis, also Soviet communists, including there's the Warsaw Ghetto rebellion by Jews. And interestingly, one of the things I study is heroism. In 1776, two Polish generals came to America, General Pulaski and Kosciuszko, to help George Washington win the battle against Britain, which is astounding. We have highways named after them and towns named after them. So my Heroic Imagination project, called HIP, H-I-P, it's a nonprofit I started in San Francisco 8 years ago. I'm president of it. And it's a simple idea. Can you train ordinary people how to become everyday heroes? How to stand up, how to speak out, how to take wise and effective action against all forms of injustice and evil, and also simply to take action when other people are passive bystanders. To be a hero means you're willing to take the risk of help others in need or defend a moral cause, knowing there could be a personal cost. If you're a whistleblower, if you protest against fraud or some kind of injustice in corporations, you often lose your job or you don't get promoted. So despite that, you still take action. So heroes are all of us. So my organization is trying to spread the notion, the importance of being everyday hero, to spread it around the world. And essentially, it's become a hipster. We have a wonderful website, heroicimagination.org. We'd love you to visit. Again, there are many activities for students to do to get involved in. And we have developed, okay, I have 2 more minutes, a unique educational program. We call it Understanding Human Nature, because sadly in Europe they don't have psychology in high schools. And I'm going to work to try to change that. So we've got Understanding Human Nature. It could be worked in social science, social philosophy. It's unique in content. It's revolutionary in delivery. It's a new way of teaching high school, college, middle school. We have 6 lessons: bystander effect, mindset, conformity, group dynamics, prejudice, and so forth. And each of these is organized around videos. Provocative, children live in a visual world. Provocative videos. Teachers don't lecture anymore. Teachers are coaches. And we give the teacher a script, and the teacher begins with activity 1. You see the video. What do you think the people were thinking about? Why did they not help? What were you thinking? What's the difference between you looking in the situation and being in? Well, the difference is social norms in the situation. And then think of a time when you helped somebody. You write down. How did you feel? I felt pride. Now think of a time when you didn't help. Typically it's bullying. Not only did you not oppose the bully, you did not go to your friend and say, I'm sorry. So you write that down, and now you share with your friend in class, and they share with you. And then they say, now make a commitment. Next time when you're in that situation, you will help. So essentially, it's interactive, it's dynamic. Teachers become coaches, and students become social change agents. And all the exams are built in. What does that mean? Teacher says, what are the 3 important lessons you learned today? The children write down and teacher checks. That's the exam. No one leaves the room without understanding 100% of the material. And then the most important thing is spread the word, activity 8. What does that mean? So I, Phil Zimbardo, will share one thing that I learned with Maciek Stolarski, and the teacher checks. The next week, she says, what did Maciek say? He thought it was really interesting. Now go back to Maciek and tell him to tell one other person. So now you're creating a knowledge network. So you could be in a little village in Poland, in Hungary, anywhere in the world, and now what you're doing is spreading knowledge. And every student becomes a teacher. Because our usual notion is, I work hard as a teacher to learn everything. I tell it to you like this. It goes in your head. I give you an exam. You get an A. Goodbye. You dump. No. Now you are me. Every student should become a teacher. Every student should embody what's best in teaching. So teachers should be coaches and be there to inspire. So our program is going to be here. Is here in Poland. Our team is Maciek, Agnes, I don't know, Ula is here, and Monica. And if you're interested, we'll tell you more about. So essentially, I train them. They train other trainers or teachers. It's both in Warsaw, in southern Poland, Katowice. We have it in Budapest, in Sicily, in Sweden, Hong Kong. And now it's going to be in Cape Town, Africa. And lastly, Flint, Michigan. It's the most depressed town in America. It's outside of Detroit. And everybody lost their job when the automobile industry went down. High unemployment, high alcoholism. People lost their houses and everything. It's the highest murder rate in America. And now, I'm talking to politicians, business people, they now say, no, it will be Hero Town, USA. Because when we make our program, the high school dropout rate is 70%. 7 of 10 children who go to high school don't finish. Your life is over. You might as well just commit suicide. You will never get a job if you don't have high school graduates. So we know from our program, they will love it. Teachers will love it. So what the world needs now is more heroes. It needs you. So Yoda says, do or do not. There's no try. Our program in Hungary, the motto is, you are what you do. So do the right thing. So I want to end very quickly is, I just discovered that on YouTube, I'm a hero in virtual reality. There's a movie going to be made about me. It's actually done by a high school student. Zimbardo, the hero movie. So it's just 2 minutes and then we end.
He was head of the APA until he lost everything. Now, Philip Zimbardo is back, and he wants revenge. From the producer of Richard Gill and The Economist of Secrets, and the director of Mr. McCormick Goes to the Circus, comes an epic story
So I've given up evil, no more dying in hell. I will only promote goodness and heroism in my new youth-filled life of nearly 82. Thank you so much.
I think we have time for one question. Who will be the first? Okay.
You mentioned the need to develop physiological-based measures of time perspective based on neurobiology. How would you suggest that to be accomplished?
I have no idea. I'm not a neurobiologist. We need to have more neurobiologists in our group. Most of us are cognitive, social, developmental. So essentially, I'm just saying we need it because all of psychology is going this way. It's a neurobiology of cognition, of emotion, and I'm just saying we need some of those people in our group.